have a very nuanced knack for it. I mean, I track so many different astrologers, but you understand it so multidimensionally from so many other angles. Like, what do you think it is that allows you to be so masterful with it?
I really appreciate that question personally, because a huge question that I would gain at first when I started was, where's your sources? Like, where did you get this information?
Mhm.
And I would never read a book for it. Like, there are certain books I can recommend that are really amazing, but I talk to the planets directly. Like, I've always been in a sense to, okay, I can read a book about it, but let me get a feel for the actual vibration. And it involved being like Gemini crazy, like just talking to them like they were actually real. And what started to happen was you start to notice patterns. You start to notice they talk back. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can say, like, a huge breakthrough was when I legitimately spoke to the planet Jupiter, and it was like, hey, I'll sing you 3 songs if you send me $300, which in retrospect is so ironic that I'm asking the king of the Olympian gods for chicken change, like for a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll sing you 3 songs, but in less than 3 hours, I get paid that exact amount by a Sagittarius woman. So Jupiter's like, it came from me. I was like, and she sent me 250, and she's like, she had no reason to ask this, but she's like, do you want me to send you an extra 50? Because that will equal 300. And I was like, okay, Jupiter, I get it. And I didn't even say you could keep, I said, you could keep the 50. I was just so mind blown. So, like, and that was like more the climax of that experience. But before, like, I would just talk to them like I was talking to a best friend, and I would just gain insight, plus everything that I would learn about it, I would start to see, and so I feel like I gained that intuitive, channeled, real insight, and I wanted to push that, so I can promote to people that the knowledge you gain doesn't have to only come from a book. Like, it can come from around you, because uh, illusion is a separation is an illusion. And
Mhm.
so, when you start to kind of open up to see ways that these omens and signs kind of talk back to you, I think that really helped uh a lot. Just being willing to flow with what comes through, even though most cases I wouldn't even know I was channeling when I'm channeling, just kind of flow. But
Right.
I really love that question, because a lot of it came with being willing to be batshit crazy in my approach towards just connecting with the stars.
Were you always batshit crazy in this way? Were you always attuned to non-ordinary reality, or sort of the animistic nature of the multiverse, or did that
Right.
come on later?
Such a good question. It was incredibly induced by the awakening. I think the craziest part of my journey was 2012 to 2016, when I was amassing all this information. Like, once I learned how to read my chart, and this happens for everyone who starts to learn to read their chart, right? Which I love Aquarius, because I feel like when I do readings for Aquarius, I'm telling y'all stuff you already know. Like, it's the one sign that it's like, oh yes, I know that. You're right. Yes, I know it. And it's so awesome. I love that. But like, yeah, when I first learned this information about my chart, I think it happens to everyone who just learns about their chart. You just start to make so much crazy realizations that make sense of what you've gone through. So that 4-year period was just being overloaded with so much information that the scales dropped, and like, it awakened this fool card in me. And like, it
Mhm.
it killed my depression, whatever depression I had, because it was just open up this never ending wellstrom of wisdom and knowledge that you learn every day. So making these realizations would excite me and open up more that I really don't know stuff like I thought I did. And that would make me more excited to explore. And coming into confirmation about certain things I would experiment and confirm made this so exciting. Just making realizations about stuff that I had either always known, or were hidden in plain sight. Before then, I was so much more reserved. But after then, that's what really pushed me to just not care. I was just so based, and I was just so willing to push the boundaries on how I express myself. But yeah, I really like that question, because it was really a lot of these realizations that helped me inhibit myself and make me realize that a lot of what I thought was serious, a lot of what we're taught we're supposed to take super serious is not serious at all and is a control and a plot. And, a lot of what really helped me be more crazy is in astrology teaching me the otherworldly nature of the spirits. Because, and to answer your question, before astrology, I was always brought up in Christianity, but in a more mystical way. My mom safeguarded us by not glamorizing that stuff, so we wouldn't do like witchcraft or stuff like that. She always taught us to follow God first, which I do appreciate. Like she taught us integrity really well. I've always been into mystical experiences. I've always had that yearning for it. And astrology, I feel, helped me make sense of it. And now in real astrology helped me realize ghosts are real, angels are real, spirits are real. Like a lot of what these things I've learned in life, learning astrological principles will just teach you life lessons and how to play it through. It like speaks to you. It's like a language. So that's what helped me break out more crazy, because I'm embracing a lot. It was just more layers of realizing my life was a lie. And so it helped me just have so much more fun shattering those boundaries and pushing myself to be as eccentric as I could be. Just
I
cool.
love that. I can't even imagine you as depressed, because I think it's, obviously I only know you from your channel and appreciate getting to know you now, but there's so much levity, there's so much hope, there's so much excitement and joy. And I'm guessing that came from having the illusions shattered from 3D reality.
Exactly. Even the depression I had wasn't even real depression. I would never say I had that, thankfully, especially compared to people who've gone through really screwed up things in life. I don't think I've ever had a reason to really be depressed. So, like, after coming into this knowledge and I would slip back into these patterns, I'd just be able to call myself out on it and realize it's not as simple as saying, like, I don't have to be negative. Like, there was just so much more to in wonder and awe be happy for. Any depression or sadness that I got into was then slipping into the whole twin flame delusion and catching feelings and projecting, oh, this person doesn't see me. But even then, that taught me so much lessons about my heart that thankfully, once again, like, just a lot of the depression I had back in my early 20s was just not knowing what to do with my life, what
Right.
direction I was going to go in, and just kind of sitting in that. And I didn't know that was the pressure I needed to become the better butterfly, right? But
Mhm.
yeah, I'm just so grateful, like, especially coming into that Saturn return, feeling with so much purpose and just being in a position to help other people see, like, you have abilities, you have powers. These are facets of you, and helping people see how awesome they are is so rewarding. I'm very grateful. It's very
Mm.
fun too.
I'm wondering, as you're speaking, if that isn't why there is this propaganda campaign against astrology, where the powers that were like to demonize astrology because it keeps us in this like hopeless, controllable state.
Yup. The Leo King had an amazing webinar. I think I was live for that. Uh the the Age of Deception, amazing webinar. And he detailed basically religion, especially, the Catholicism and Protestantism, and how at some point astrology used to be side by side, but
Mhm.
then they started to take it out and demonize it. So that a lot of people don't know that astrology originally wasn't necessarily as demonized like it is now, which is why you
Mm.
can see the incongruence between Bible verses that shun astrology, when the Bible says absolutely nothing wrong about it. Like, you cannot point out anywhere in the Bible that says astrology is bad or astrology is wrong. It's people who misinterpret texts. You can't say that when the three wise men used astrology to find Jesus, and Genesis 1:14 exists. So you'll see verses that speak on divining. You'll see verses that demonize other astrologers that kings used. You'll see verses like Isaiah that talk about, oh, those of you who, try and chart the days and divine the days. But these verses outright don't speak against astrology. as much as a specific context in which astrology is used. So
Mhm.
people who don't know astrology, who haven't done chart readings, will use that to be, oh, see, this is evil and this is the devil. But you're begging the question, first of all. You're using the Bible to make a point, which is a fallacy. I don't know who needs to hear that. And there's a lot of, like, I used to be that person who felt like it was the Bible or not. So I know what it's like to be indoctrinated. I know what it's like to be conditioned. I know what it's like to feel like if you're not Christian, you're gonna go to hell. And in your head, you will genuinely feel, I would genuinely feel like I'm doing right by that person. I'm sincere. Like, and I still do believe the intent was right. It's just the approach just had to be a little bit different and more accepting, because there's still a lot of influence, especially surrounding like homosexuality. A lot of my views on homosexuality are very much so influenced by my religious upbringing.